Okay, so in this video, I just want to answer and address one of the most common questions that I receive on a fairly regular basis. The question is basically, what do I think of X, Y, or Z movement or paradigm or philosophy or ideology or system or whatever it is? So it could be a Tai Chi system or a yoga system or a Qigong system or yoga system or a Paleo thing or a raw vegan thing or a ReWilding thing or any permutation or combination or variation of any of those things. And simply put, my answer is basically this, is that we are still trying to relate to and minimize and fit the infinite into something finite for the security and the convenience of our logical conscious mind. Hence why many of these things have clever catchphrases and slogans and simple, easy guidelines that are very convenient and easy and comfortable for our minds to just kind of jump onto. Yet we could also perhaps understand that maybe the nature of freedom and empowerment is more rooted in the infinite and as expressed and experienced through the creative, through the joyous, through the spontaneous, through inspiration, and all of these things. And the latter, many could argue, is more so our true nature, and something which really has very little to do with these mundane trends and fluctuations and ups and downs that consume and usurp so much of our time and our energy. And it comes down to really our scale of time from which we are viewing things. And what I mean is that so often our sense of time is very this. This is all we're seeing. So it's at that point oftentimes really easy to jump on to things because we're kind of missing the bigger picture. Meaning it's easier to get fixated on things, distracted and consumed and usurped by these ups and downs, because at this scale, ups and downs seem like a lot, but at this scale, ups and downs don't really seem like very much at all. They seem very actually typical, because from a larger perspective, we see, oh, that's just kind of maybe what life is doing, maybe what life has always been doing, so maybe I don't have to jump on board or have to get as obsessed or fixated or stuck on certain things. And the other issue is that once we go so far down a certain path, our thought process, our self-identity, our self-esteem, our way of relating to the world is only through this thing. And we become so kind of identified with it that perhaps it can take us away from these deeper aspects. And this is really often where traditions, whether they be religious or spiritual or governmental, kind of come about anyways, because we look at the word government, M-E-T, could perhaps have some relation to menta or mental, or being the mental world, and then govern, obviously to govern or to rule or to organize. So we can perhaps look at just even some basic etymology, and even the word religion, religio, kind of the word meaning basically to bind together. So we can start to kind of see trends and patterns and see that maybe if we look at these things, use a model from psychology or archetypical psychology or even just basic human life, different things that show up in the human mind and psyche across time and space throughout history, perhaps these things are there and are existing, are somewhat kind of universal or archetypical, to use that word. And what happens is they're powerful forces inside of us that we all have and that we all have access to without necessarily anything outside of us. But what happens is a system comes along, or a religion or a spiritual tradition or a government or some organization comes along, and they have a path or a guidebook or a step-by-step process to hit that button, to activate that latent or dormant or suppressed part of our psyche. And then we do it and we think, oh, it's magic. Wow, it's amazing. And then we think, oh, well, I need this, and I need that, I need this, I need that, to hit all these different parts of myself and activate it and press these buttons. but maybe realizing or failing to realize and forgetting that, whoa, maybe it's like here, like perhaps it's the nature of reality. This is just the nature of things. Perhaps it's just infinite. Perhaps these latent things are within inside of myself. Which is, again, what I'm saying is not putting anything down. Is not saying there's anything wrong or anything negative about any of these things. It's actually asking bigger questions, maybe creating a bigger container, a bigger perspective, and making other subtle suggestions, and just maybe a subtle and gentle reminder of things that I think we all know. And what I mean by that is we all know, meaning what are the experiences which give our human life meaning? What are the things that make us feel good and alive and empowered and happy and strong and connected and all these things? Typically, they're spontaneous and they are creative and they're inspired. Whether it be love or sex or music or dance or insight or any of those things, those are all things which we really can't necessarily control. We try to. We try to love. We try to get sexually aroused. We try to do all these things, but we can't really control it. We try to meditate. We try to quiet our minds and be calm and be peaceful, but to a degree we kind of can't. To a degree it's kind of out of our hands. And sometimes that's the deeper subversive truth that is often missed, is that maybe we don't really know what the fuck is going on. Maybe we're really not in control. And maybe our attempts to do both of those things taken too far or taken to a certain degree can actually be the opposite of what they're supposed to be. Which the easiest example of this is look at governments, look at propaganda. How do they always work? We're about freedom. We're about change. We're about empowering the people. But then if you actually look at what happens, the people really aren't empowered. Some people are empowered. The ruling group up here, they're empowered. That's all about them. But everyone else is pretty much screwed. And that's often how these things play out. And don't believe me, it's not really my opinion. We kind of just look at history and just examine it. I don't know. Just as an idea, just a suggestion. But anyways, it's kind of beside the point and a different tangent really altogether. So hopefully this video has been helpful and it answers questions, perhaps creates questions more importantly. And just again, to be clear, I'm not putting these things down. I'm not saying anything negative about them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. Because someone is inevitably going to fucking accuse me of that and be like, oh, you're such a dick. This movement changed my life and gave me all these things and da-da-da-da-da-da, and how dare you say there's anything wrong with it. Not what I'm saying. I have about 8 minutes of this video which is saying something completely different and it's completely otherwise. So anyways, hopefully it's been helpful. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.